To wear a crown is to carry the weight of a nation. It is to be elevated above all others, a figure of majesty, power, and divine right. But it is also to place a target upon one's own head. For history teaches us that the higher the throne, the longer and harder the fall. And for some rulers, that fall ends not in quiet dignity, but in a spectacle of agony so profound it echoes through the centuries. A grim reminder that beneath the purple robes and polished gold lies only flesh, bone, and blood. Consider the fate of Andronicus Komnenos, emperor of Byzantium. He began as a champion of the people, a reformer who broke the backs of corrupt aristocrats and greedy landlords. The common folk hailed him as a savior. But the fire of reform soon burned into the inferno of tyranny. His rule became a reign of terror, where a mere whisper of dissent could lead to mutilation and death. By 1185, with foreign armies at the gates and the great city of Thessalonica sacked, the people's love had curdled into pure hatred. When he was finally captured, the city he had once saved turned on him. What followed was not an execution, but a 3-day public dissection of a living man. The mob descended upon him. His right hand was severed. His teeth were smashed, his hair torn out in clumps. One of his eyes was gouged from its socket. They poured boiling water over his face, melting skin from bone. And through it all he endured. Finally, they dragged his broken body to the Hippodrome, the heart of the city, and hung him upside down between 2 pillars. There he was used as a sword-fighting dummy by Latin soldiers until he was literally ripped apart. The man who had been the most powerful figure in the Eastern world was reduced to a mangled trophy of public rage. But not all falls are at the hands of one's own people. Sometimes the abyss opens on a foreign field of battle. This was the fate of Valerian, the first Roman emperor to be captured by an enemy. He ruled during the crisis of the 3rd century, a time when the empire was tearing itself apart. Facing the formidable Sassanid Persians, Valerian led his legions east, only to be crippled by plague. Weakened and outmaneuvered, he was taken prisoner by the Persian king Shapur I. The master of the known world became a slave. The stories that trickled back to Rome were ones of ultimate humiliation. Shapur, it was said, used the living Roman emperor as a human footstool, stepping on his back to mount his horse. When Valerian, desperate, offered a vast ransom for his freedom, Shapur allegedly offered a counterproposal. He had the emperor seized and forced him to swallow molten gold, a searing final payment for his failure. Then his skin was flayed from his body, stuffed with straw, and mounted as a permanent trophy in a Persian temple. A scarecrow in imperial purple, a warning to all of Rome. A similar fate awaited the last Abbasid Caliph of Baghdad, Al-Mustasim. He inherited a city that was the jewel of the Islamic world, a center of learning, art, and science. But on the horizon, a storm was gathering, the Mongols. Al-Mustasim fatally underestimated them. When their armies appeared before his walls, it was too late. The Mongols shattered Baghdad's defenses, and for 1 week they unleashed a destruction that beggars belief. Palaces, libraries, and hospitals were burned to the ground. The Tigris River, chroniclers wrote, ran red with the blood of hundreds of thousands, and then black with the ink of countless priceless books cast into its waters. Al-Mustasim was forced to watch it all. He witnessed the murder of his people and the ruin of his capital. His own end was a strange nod to Mongol custom. Believing it taboo to spill royal blood upon the earth, they wrapped him tightly in a rug and had their horses trample him to death. Yet sometimes the end is not a grand tragedy, but a bizarre, almost farcical accident. Charles II of Navarre, a man known to history as Charles the Bad, was old and sick, his limbs paralyzed. His physician prescribed a radical treatment. The king was to be wrapped from head to toe in linen cloths soaked in brandy, then sewn in tight. As a servant finished stitching the cloth near his neck, she found she had no scissors to cut the thread, so she reached for a candle to burn it away. In an instant, the alcohol-soaked wrappings ignited. The king, sewn into a shroud of fire, unable to move, was burned alive in his own bed. A century later, another king, Charles II of England, would also die at the hands of his doctors. When he collapsed from a stroke, the finest physicians in the kingdom rushed to his side. Their cure, however, was a litany of 17th century horrors. They drained pints of blood from him, weakening him further. They forced him to vomit and purge with powerful chemicals, dehydrating his failing body. They applied blistering agents to his skin, burning it raw. They fed him mercury, a deadly poison. They pressed heated glass cups to his flesh, leaving a constellation of bruises and torn skin. For 4 days, they tortured him in the name of medicine, until his body, ravaged not by the illness but by the cure, finally gave up. But perhaps the greatest indignities are reserved for those betrayed from within. Mary, Queen of Scots, fled to England seeking the protection of her cousin, Queen Elizabeth I. Instead, she found a gilded cage. Imprisoned for nearly 2 decades, she became the focal point of Catholic plots against Elizabeth. When her own letters implicated her in a plan of assassination, her fate was sealed. On the execution block, she knelt with dignity. But the executioner was unnerved. His first blow missed her neck, striking the back of her head. The second blow nearly severed it, but not quite. He had to hack through the remaining sinew with his axe. As he lifted the head to show the crowd, it slipped from his grasp. Her famous red wig fell to the floor, revealing her own hair, short and gray. A final, pathetic illusion, shattered in death. Her contemporary, Edward II of England, suffered an even darker end. His reign was a disaster of lost wars and political favoritism. Deposed by his own wife, Isabella, and her lover, Roger Mortimer, he was imprisoned and marked for death. To avoid leaving any outward sign of violence that could turn him into a martyr, his killers devised a truly monstrous plan. According to the chronicles, they pinned him down and inserted a red-hot poker deep into his body, burning him to death from the inside out. From the emperor god Commodus, poisoned by his mistress and strangled by his wrestling partner in a bathhouse, to King Edmund Ironside, betrayed in battle and allegedly assassinated with a blade from beneath a toilet seat, history is littered with these brutal postscripts to power. They are a stark testament that the crown offers no shield from the grave, and the throne, in the end, is just a chair. The same human frailties, the same capacity for cruelty, and the same mortal end await us all. If these echoes from the past resonate with you, consider subscribing to our channel for more stories that reveal the hidden dramas of history. And share your thoughts in the comments below. Which of these fates do you find the most chilling?